Here with another episode of Sox Talk with Will Middlebrooks. As always, joined by the man to the left of me, the 2013 Red Sox World Series champion. And I'm Greg Dudek, just your average NESN.com writer. Will, how you doing today? I'm glad you were able to escape some of that Florida heat and join us here in the Watertown studios.
You're also a hype man, clearly.
I try to be. You deserve it.
You deserve it. I don't, but thanks. No, yeah, it's good to get up here because I've been walking around the town all morning before I came here. It's 70 degrees. At home, the heat index was like 118.
Yeah, it was tough.
Get me out of there.
Well, we got to get you up here more often. But as always that we do on this show, we talk about everything and anything Red Sox. One thing we really haven't dived too much into this season is the farm system. Obviously, a big aspect of what Craig Breslow's trying to build here. And whenever you talk about the Red Sox farm system, what they have going on in the minors, three names always pop up, right? It's Marcelo Mayer, Kyle Teel, Roman Anthony. When you look at those three players in particular who just had a big week, right? Moved up to AAA. All together, which is rare.
That never happens.
Never happens.
It's never even two guys.
I know.
But they waited for Marcelo to get healthy, and then like, all right, get out of here, kids.
So obviously big expectations on that group of players, on that trio. What do you see as their kind of ceilings? What's your thoughts on their game and kind of your expectations on those guys?
Yeah, well, it's super exciting to have guys that, you could take any of those three and put them in another organization. They have a chance to be a top prospect for that organization just because of their talent level. Obviously, two of those guys, in Marcelo and Roman, are young, right? They're out of high school. They're young guys. So there was some maturing to be done. Now, I do think for high school guys, they were super mature. They were a lot more mature than me when I signed in 2007, when I was very raw and green as a high schooler coming out of the draft. Marcelo, you talk to him, he sounds like he's 28. He has a family, right? Pays his taxes. He's just like knows everything that's going on. He's very smart and with it, and that bleeds into his baseball IQ. You watch him play the game. You watch the way he talks about the game, the way he studies it with his teammates. So there's really high baseball IQ within that whole group. It's so hard to say, like, there's no crystal ball, right? There's no like magic 8-ball. You shake it and you're like, oh, perennial all-star. Yeah. I do worry about injuries with Marcelo. Obviously, that's been kind of the history with him. Is a very polished player for a young guy, but there's the list of injuries is growing.
He has the back injury right now,
and backs are never great when you're young because they never go away. Normally, a back problem guy is a back problem guy. I'm not saying he can't have a great career. Yeah. He's just going to have to figure out a routine to manage it on a daily basis, and that's tough as a young player because you're invincible, right? You're like, I'll be fine, right? I'll be fine. But you have to find this routine every day you come to the field, every day at home before you go to bed, whatever it may be, to keep your back healthy. So that's something I would pay attention to. But I think he will be a everyday regular. His bat path, his approach at the plate. I think his approach at the plate is my favorite thing of his game.
He's a doubles machine.
He's a doubles machine. He uses left center really well, but he can also pull the ball in the air with some pop. Defensively, he's very smooth. He makes all the routine plays. I don't think he's going to be like a superstar defensive shortstop. I just don't. His movements don't dictate that for me. Is like the quick, fast twitch
guy too.
Yeah, I mean,
because you came up as a shortstop.
I did. I signed as a shortstop / pitcher. They didn't know I might have pitched, but I had some shoulder trouble as an 18-year-old, and ended up. And I hit well in instructional league and extended spring training and all that. So they sent me to Lowell as a third base. They actually moved me to third base because I was taller. And they had a guy named Ryan Dent, who was a good shortstop at the time. He was in my draft as well. But I could see Marcelo being an everyday big leaguer, and having a really good career. It's all going to come down to health. I think the talent is there. I think the IQ is there, and I think he'll be a really good player. Looking at Kyle Teel, I think he is a very good hitter, but I think he's a defense-first guy. I think defensively he is big league ready right now. Wow. Just watching the way he receives pitches, the way he calls games. He's very good at blocking. He's got a very strong arm. His pop times are around 1.9, which is a touch about league average right now in the big league, so there's room to grow. But he's got a really good arm as far as arm strength goes. Already said it receives well, blocks well, does all that that a catcher needs to do.
He's risen quick, right?
He
was just drafted last year.
He's also a college guy, so there's a maturity level there, and that's part of when you – that's why with Marcelo and Roman, they're being on the fast track. This organization sees something because they don't fast track guys very often because of the maturity, because of guys needing to grow and not only become higher level prospects and big leaguers, but grow up. You know, they're kids.
Yeah,
like you're 18.
definitely.
You were in high school a couple of years ago. You know, it's like
big jump.
You got to figure out not only how to play baseball, but how to live and conduct yourselves off the field and be an adult.
Yeah.
So that's part of it too. So they're fast tracking those guys because they're on another level off, obviously on the baseball field, but off the field they can handle it as well. So love Kyle Teel as a defender. Obviously the bat plays. Yeah. He actually runs a lot better than I thought he would.
Absolutely.
Which, you know, you see him move and you're like, that's a catcher, which we've seen that with Connor. He's not like a Connor Wong type speed guy, but he's also more built like a catcher.
Well, the comp for him coming out of college was Buster Posey, which obviously is a huge
I mean, he kind of has a Rushman build too to him, you know. I hate comparing guys and saying like, oh, this is his comp, because I don't want to say like, oh, that's who he needs to be. You know, like, no, he needs to be Kyle Teel because he's going to be a good player. And then Roman Anthony, this is the dude. Like,
this is your favorite guy out of the three?
This is my favorite. This is my favorite player in the organization. I mean, it's an easy pick. We'll get to another one that I like in a minute. That's called a tease, folks.
That's perfect.
So when it comes to Roman Anthony, I just feel like he's a 5-tool player. I think the average he's not a high average guy right now. He's like 270, 260, 270. The pop is insane for a 20-year-old high school guy. It's just, you just don't see guys get fast-tracked like this unless the organization knows they're a stud. And with the metrics they have now and the way they're able to essentially create their own crystal ball as far as expected stats and bat path and just all the measurables they have with these guys, if they're fast-tracking a guy, there's a reason for it because they're ready. And he's in AAA right now. That means he's going to impact the big league club at some point next season.
And he had a good debut, right? 3 for 4, kind of show off his speed a little bit, too.
Yeah. So, 20 bags this year, I think? Something like that. Yeah. But, like, the pop, you see 117 off the bat, 450 feet, consistently, like, 400-foot homers. But I just love how he carries himself, right? You saw how he went on the big stage when he went to Texas during the All-Star weekend and the Futures game and all that. Exactly, and put on the show, hitting the balls way back, right? And he embraced that. You could just see a maturity about him. You could see what I loved is how his teammates embraced him, and that's important as a young guy because coming out of high school, a lot of it has to do with social skills, and you don't have them. You didn't go to college. You didn't learn how to hang out. You do in high school, but it's different. There's a learning curve to being with the boys, and he's clearly, those guys are all closely knit, and so it's cool to see them all move together. Hopefully see them on the big leagues at some point soon. We can dig into this a little deeper in a different episode, but kind of a logjam right now with the outfield with the Red Sox.
Absolutely.
So as much as I want to say, he's going to be a part of the team at some point next season, it's either going to take a trade to open something up or there could be moves made, injuries, who knows? I mean, obviously, you don't know if Tyler O'Neill's coming back, probably not. He's having a great year, but at the same time, it's like he keeps getting hurt. There's the infection. There's this stuff popping up. I don't know if they re-sign him or not.
He's on a 1-year deal,
right? And Yoshida's not going to play the outfield.
Yeah, he's DH is his role now. But talking about Roman Anthony, you had kind of a little special run-in, right?
This was insane. So I live in Boynton Beach, Florida, where Roman Anthony is from, Wellington, Florida. Boynton Beach is like 10 minutes south of Wellington.
Okay, gotcha.
So Saltalamacchia lives in Wellington.
Okay.
He's a coach at a school called King's Academy there. He's the head baseball coach.
He told me you're trying to get him to golf. He told me he has no time.
Yeah, he's too busy shaping our youth. We'll put it that way. And with his crew of girls he has at his house, he has all his daughters. Yeah. But so it was the first day of school for my girls. My youngest, who's in preschool, who's in pre-K, she gets done at 1. So at like noon, I asked Jenny, hey, let's go. I love Firehouse subs. Shout out Firehouse. What's up? Sponsorship. Let's go.
Let's go. I could use a sub right now.
Jeez, the Italian from there.
That must be a Florida thing because I have no idea what you're talking about.
You've never heard of Firehouse subs?
Never.
Don't be afraid to live a little.
I'm waiting for the invite down to Florida so I can help.
Now's not the time. Wait till like December.
Perfect.
If you go now, you'll never want to go back. So I sit down. We're like, hey, let's go grab a sandwich and we'll pick up Mackenzie afterwards. And so we're sitting down. I am crushing. I'm starving. So I'm sitting down crushing food. And the guy walks by and goes, I had a red Boston.
Gotcha. Yeah, a little B. Yeah.
B polo one. Hey, I like that shirt. It's a good looking shirt. This like jacked Italian guy. Jacked. This guy's like in his 50s.
Shout out Mr. Anthony.
And yoked. He looked like Jose Canseco walking through there. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. No big deal. And he sits at the table next to us. He goes, you a Boston fan? And he said, oh, my kid plays for him. I said, who? And he said, well, he just got called up to AAA with his buddies. That's how he said it. He got called up to AAA with his buddies.
Like that.
Yeah, and I was like, and by then I was like, the wheels are turning. He looks just like him. And I was like, Roman. And he was like, how'd you know that? I was like, well, you look just like him, number one, and I work for the team.
Yeah.
He thought I was just some psychopath that was like, loved the Boston Red Sox so much. Well, I do, but but I was like, oh, I work for the team, and then he put two and two together. He was like, oh, wait, are you Will? Because he watches the games.
Okay,
and,
gotcha.
So we ended up talking for like 30 minutes. Unbelievable conversation. He coached Roman all growing up. So we actually got into like other prospects and like swing
you got
pass.
the full lowdown.
We were actually like discussing like breaking down Roman's swing and what he liked about it and what he needed.
Info.
It was unbelievable. And it's just crazy that we were in the same place at the same time. I didn't even know he was from there.
What are the odds of that? That's
right.
crazy.
And then he walks in, and if I hadn't had that shirt on too, I would have never known. Yeah. So he lives, 10, 15 minutes away, and he had a job. He was working like right next door where we were eating. He was like, oh, I'll just go grab some food quick. Like, what are the chances?
Yeah, boy, that's
what
crazy.
are the chances?
Well, now you have all the ins. Now you're in with the family.
Oh, we're in. We exchanged numbers. I was like, you let Roman know if he needs a lifeline. Because when he signs for $100 million, I would.
You want to be the guy. I want to
be his agent, basically.
Exactly. And those baseball contracts are only getting bigger.
So I'm going to beat you to your next question because I know you're going to ask me. But so one of the guys we talked about a lot was Christian Campbell.
Did you hear the nickname these guys, that trio has given Christian Campbell? You know what they're calling him?
Was it Barry Bonds?
Barry Bonds.
Yeah, that's strong.
that's
He's probably
really
getting
strong.
a lot of drug tests after that. But this kid's special. I mean, he's OPS over 1,000 right now for the season. He's at 350 at bats.
He's kind of come on a fourth rounder last year.
Fourth rounder. He's 22. Played Georgia Tech. Which obviously you go play at Georgia Tech. You're a good ball player.
Jason Veritek's school.
He's decent. Yeah. He went there. But this kid's a real deal, and I think his swing has room to improve. I've done a little bit of breakdown on his swing and his path, and he might be he's one of the most athletic guys because he doesn't have a perfect bat path. He kind of gets over his front side a lot. And all right, we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of hitting for a second.
I love this because I learned so much from you when you do this.
I promise I won't stand up and start taking swings, but I'll closest thing possible. So when you're in your setup, you want to load your back hip and your back side as much as possible. That's where the power is. And when you swing in your backside, you're able to stay behind the baseball and be on plane. If your weight shifts to your front side, your swing is more steep and down, like old school baseball, kind of down, and the ball's coming down, and you want to swing up just barely, like slight uppercut swing, so you can meet it. Your bat's in the path longer, better chance of solid contact. You can be late, still square the ball up. Put that, make it as simple as possible.
Perfect.
But because I don't want to get in the weeds too much here, he gets out on his front side and gets steep a lot.
I think I noticed that with like a home run.
It's like one-handed, almost sometimes swinging down through the ball, and it's like he's able to still consistently square the ball up, which tells me he has elite hand-eye coordination. Because if you got to think about something coming down towards the plate and you swinging slightly down, you have to meet it perfect. Yeah. You have to be perfectly on time to square up a ball as often as he's squaring the ball up. Now, it's not all the time he does that. You can tell he's been working on it. I talked to Brian Abraham, who oversees minor league coordinator. I don't know.
Yeah, some
minor
fancy
league
title.
Farm director. I don't know the exact term. Sorry, Abes. He was our bullpen catcher in 2013. And now he oversees the farm system. But he said he's put a lot of work into it. And I saw a recent video. He just recently went deep to left field. I remember where they were playing, but it looked much better. Like he was behind the ball much more. And that's just going to make him more consistent. So the more he can stay behind the baseball and not get steep, not get over that front side, he's just going to be even better, which is insane to think about because And it's not a massive flaw. I just think it's going to make him more consistent in the long run and make him a more consistent player hitting over 300, but with pop and the speed. And he's a lot taller than I thought, too. He's 6'3".
Okay.
So it's like, is he going to stick in the infield? Is he going to play the outfield?
I was going to say, that's kind of like the biggest, no one knows where this kid's going to
I think he's so athletic,
right?
it's like a situation where, like, where do you want him?
We'll just find a spot for him kind of thing. He's such a good hitter.
Look, if you can hit, they'll find a place for you.
Exactly.
So I'm really excited about him as like one of the guys who's not in the top 3 who is on everyone's radar now. I'm pretty sure he's in the top 100 now.
Yeah, I think
he broke into the top 100, which he should.
One of those Baseball America MLB pipeline, whatever.
So he's got not only the Red Sox fans and the organization's eyes, the whole baseball world's paying attention to him. So with those 4 guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, hopefully some of these guys that they drafted, the arms, these college arms. Or
this past season. This past year, a couple months ago.
Yeah, so hopefully some of these guys can work to the minors relatively quickly over the next couple of years because they need some depth in arms. We don't have to get into that. I had fun talking hitting a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, one thing I did want to talk to you about, because you obviously have the experience of being in, the shoes of a Campbell, the shoes of an Anthony, of coming up through the minor league system. Kind of want to get your thoughts on that, and also like we talk about with prospects, people fall in love with these guys and they set super high expectations, and unfortunately a lot of them just don't pan out. Was there a guy that you were going through the minor leagues with that you saw and you're like, this guy has it, he's the next big thing in MLB, and next thing you know, 4 or 5 years down the line, he's not in the game? Because I have a name I purposely didn't tell you.
From the Red Sox?
From the Red Sox that you played with, that I thought I was the president of this guy's fan club, I tell you, Will. I thought he was going to be Mookie Betts before Mookie Betts even came.
I played with him.
Yeah.
What position?
He was an outfielder.
Left-handed batter?
Yep.
Is he from Pennsylvania?
He might be. I wasn't that deep into him.
I'm trying to figure out who this was. Was it like Pete Hissey?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
I don't know.
I was a huge Ryan Kalish guy.
Oh, Kalish, yeah. I was thinking more like, because he was I think he was drafted the year before.
Yeah, he was I think he was maybe a couple of years ahead of you,
2 years
right?
ahead of me, I think. 05 or 06. Yeah, because that was 07. Injuries killed him. I mean, it happens to so many guys. Yep. I mean, injuries derail my career. I mean, it started in the minor leagues. I never got hurt in high school. When I was young, towards the end of high school, I had a little thing with my shoulder. I was like, oh, no big deal. You move on, you go play pro ball. And then, 3 or 4 years into pro ball, you start having injuries. They start kind of snowballing. It gets to the big leagues. I break my wrist, and it's like boom, 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 boom after that. So it's like injuries just derail so many guys. And Kalish with his neck, it was mainly his neck.
Well, he broke his leg too on a slide into home plate. I remember I was actually at the game, and by Canvas Alley, they had like stretcher him off the field.
Was that when he was with the Cubs, or was that?
No,
that
was when he was with the Sox. I don't remember 2010 because he came out. I was like, this guy's gonna be the next big thing.
I remember his neck being like the worst thing.
Okay.
I don't even remember the leg. Is that bad?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of someone I came up with. There were several guys that I came up with that have had good careers. Anthony Rizzo was in my draft.
Okay. Maybe that's a better question.
Hunter Strickland.
Okay.
Ryan Presley.
Okay. Wow.
A guy who I really thought, I think he was our first rounder that year, either first rounder or supplemental first round. Ryan Dent.
Okay.
He was a middle infielder from Southern California who was so much more like physically built than all of us as high schoolers. He was yoked out of his mind. He had sick hands. He had a lot of pop in the bat. He could run, and it never worked out for him somehow. And he was a great teammate. Loved playing with him. Played with him through all levels of the minor leagues. And it just never worked out for him. There's another guy who it worked out for in Korea, but not here. Was Casey Kelly.
Okay.
Who was one of our top prospects. He was his dad, Pat Kelly, coaches in the minor leagues. He coaches for Louisville, the AAA for the Reds.
Okay, gotcha.
Right now,
the Bats, right?
The Bats. So Casey was going to Tennessee to play quarterback. He was a stud from Sarasota in Florida, and he signed as a shortstop/pitcher, and we played together in Lowell. And he played both positions. He was like a dual-way guy because they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do with him, and the bat just wasn't coming along. And so they let him start pitching. He was like a sinker slider guy, good control, wasn't going to blow you away. It was like low 90s, but good stuff. And ended up getting to the big leagues with the Padres. I believe he was in the Adrian Gonzalez trade.
Okay.
Got to the big leagues with the Padres, didn't do great, bounced around a little bit, and then decided to go to Korea and made some good money over there. Just finished up over there with his contract, and he came back and just signed with Louisville Bats to finish, and so he could finish his career with his dad.
Nice.
But that was a guy I really thought had like a really bright future in the major leagues, and it just didn't happen.
And so, I mean, like you said, it just that's baseball in a way, right? Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. But
it takes a lot of luck on top of, I mean, obviously hard work and being a good player, but there's so many good players that just Ryan Westmoreland.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was the most talented person I ever stepped on a field with.
Oh wow.
And obviously he had cavernous malformation in his brain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I pulled that term out of.
Yeah, that's.
But but that was it. Basically at the base of his skull, and they had to go in and take it out. And he had to relearn like motor skills, and he got back to where he was taking batting practice, and he played in a couple of games down in the Gulf Coast League. But I mean, he had to teach himself how to walk again, write, talk. He had like multiple issues with like nerves in his face. This was a guy that I was like, this guy's gonna be like a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Like he was different, and he's a local kid too. Yeah. Portsmouth, Rhode Island, I think.
Maybe.
I think. He's still local. He still lives up there. He's coaching.
Okay, nice.
Coached at the college, I believe. But he was the most talented guy I ever played with, ever. And
like we're talking about, just something freak like that.
And it's something that just
no control
took it away from him.
Yeah.
You know, so it's crazy. Not to get all
little
sad.
No.
But shout out Ryan Westmoreland. Like he was
exactly.
the most talented guy I ever played with, and just. You just never know, man.
Yeah, exactly. Can you kind of just real quick with the expectations on the big three of the Red Sox? I mean, you know what that's been like being one step away from the majors, and like you were talking about, these kids are polished. They say the right things. Hey, it's about what I'm doing here. You know, it's the focused on this day. I'm not going to focus on the future, but like. Those guys have to be thinking like, "Hey, I'm one step away."
Yeah, like they're right there to like fulfilling a dream that they've thought about since they were little kids playing t-ball, maybe even before. Yeah. Everybody that picks up a bat when they're a kid wants to get to the big leagues, and they're right there. So, and I mean,
so when you get to AAA, is that like even more motivating? Does that make you go even just the 1%, 2% harder? Do you relax a little bit?
I don't think you go harder. I think these guys play hard, you know, regardless of where they are. That's how they're built, you know, and how they're wired. That's why they're as good as they are and highly touted as they are. I think there is a human aspect that people don't understand of the pressure that these guys have on them.
I mean, they're talking like these guys are the saviors of the franchise.
I think 2011 and then 2012, I was a number one prospect. And I hate saying that because I'm
going to use that now for your
hype
stuff.
I don't like talking about myself, but I had that title, and it's a lot of pressure, man. And that's before social media was like huge. It was a thing, you know, in like 2011,
MLB
2012.
Pipeline tweeting out every
like Sox prospects and all that was a thing. But social media wasn't like people weren't on their phones nonstop, you know, not on social media. Yeah. And now it's like anything you do, like they know what you have for lunch every day because somebody at the restaurant saw you there, and it's everywhere, you know. So it's a lot of pressure, you know, and not only is it access for everyone else, it's access for yourself, and you see a lot of stuff that's said about you. So they have it tougher, but in the same breath, there's a lot of resources that they can use that I didn't have as well. So, and I think the organization is really good with educating these kids on what to do, what not to do, keep your nose out of certain stuff, like. And help them with their focus on staying out of the articles. And there's only so much you can control. Like, they're adults. They're going to go on their own and do whatever they want to do. But you can give these guys, like, a good base of, you know, what they need to focus on. And I think these guys obviously are doing the right thing. Like, you listen to them talk. These aren't your normal 20, 21-year-olds. Like, they are very polished and mature and beyond their years. So, and I think that's playing into their success because they're not too worried about what other people think right now.
Yeah, well, they got hopefully big careers ahead of them. Like you said, a lot of expectations on them, and I guess we'll just have to see. Hopefully, maybe next season.
I think so.
We'll be talking about those guys actually in a Red Sox uniform. But that's going to do it for another episode of Sox Talk with Will Middlebrooks. You can catch us on Nesson's YouTube page and on Nesson.com. Will, as always, appreciate you stopping by and talking some Sox.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
PNC Bank, rooted in communities big and small.